This is 5th grade ELA text set 6. Freedom, the essential question of what is freedom? How does the desire for freedom drive people to action? The goal is to identify the author's purpose in writing Marti's song for freedom. I'm going to read a biography of a great patriot who spent his whole life speaking out for freedom. His name is Jose Marti. You may not have heard of Jose Marti, but to Cubans he is important as Thomas Jefferson is to Americans. Marti was also a poet, and he wrote a book of poems called Rosas Sincoleos, simple verses. Some of those verses are in this biography. As I read, be listening for them. Here is Marti's Song for Freedom by Emma Othigai. When Jose was a young boy, his father took him to the countryside where he listened to the crickets chirp and the roosters crow. Jose bowed to the palm reels, the grand royal palms that shaded the path. Where he rode his horse, he chased the river as it swelled with the rains and rushed into the saltwater sea. Jose fell in love with his home island, Cuba. I am an honest man from the land where the palm trees grow, and before I die, I'd like to sing the song of my soul. So did you know this is a verse of poetry by Marti? How did you recognize it? If necessary, point out the bar of narratives. Okay. One day, Jose saw a rich man forcing men and women to cut sugar cane. Jose recognized in the enslaved people's souls like his own, souls that should be free. Their enslavement made Jose shake with rage. When he returned to his home in Havana, Jose read about the Civil War in the United States. He admired President Abraham Lincoln and everyone who fought to abolish slavery. Jose wished he could help end slavery in Cuba. I know of a heavy burden. First among all sorrows, the enslavement of men and women is the greatest misery. But Spain ruled the island and wouldn't let Cubans into the government. Spain didn't respect the diversity of the Cuban people, Spanish, African, Chinese, and indigenous, as some of a mix of all of these, or their demands for fair treatment. In 1868, the Cuban people started a war to gain independence from Spain. The Spanish fought hard to keep Cuba because the sugar grown by enslaved people made them wealthy. Jose didn't care about money and being rich. He loved Cuba and all of its people. Jose wrote for newspapers, handed out pamphlets, declaring that the Spanish were cruel and that Cuba should be free. His words made the Spanish furious. Give the vain man his costly gold that sparkles and burns in the fire. To me, give me the endless forest when the sun shines through. Jose is passionate about his beliefs, and he's making the Spanish angry. What might happen next? Jose was taken away to jail and forced to work in a quarry, where when he pulled stones from a giant pit and wore shackles that weighed him down and tore his skin. Jose would forever have the scars of jail, where his song of freedom and love for Cuba were trapped. The Spanish agreed to release Jose, but only if he left Cuba. At 17 years old, Jose was sent away from his beloved island in the Palms Rails. But Jose's song could not be silent. Jose would continue to fight for Cuba's independence. He traveled from country to country to speak about Cuba and his wish for democracy. Jose settled in Nueva York, when he gave speeches and wrote newspaper articles and joined forces with workers to support Cuba's fight. Wherever he went, Jose was inspired to find people who also believed in equality and liberty. I come from every place. I am on the road to everywhere. I am art among the arts, and in the mountain chain a link. So there's another verse of Jose's poetry. What is Jose saying about himself? I'm sorry. Yeah. Jose was dazzled by Nueva York with its electric lights, new businesses, and inventive people. But as the years passed, Jose saw that when people rushed around, they became blind. People didn't notice the misery of the homeless or the beauty in the faces around them. Jose yearned for tall trees and wide open fields to love. When he was weary, Jose would go to the Catskill Mountains, where Rip Van Winkle had his long sleep. There Jose rested among the trees and birds that he missed so much. My song is of the palest green and the fieriest crimson. My song is a wounded deer that in the countryside seeks safety. So, in the Catskills, Jose splashed in the waterfalls, hiked through the helico, the ferns that lined the path, and admired the thick bark of the oak trees. Jose loved the mountains and their cool purple mist, but the sighing of the pine trees, moving with one breath, reminded him of the swaying palms reliefs of Cuba. It filled him with homesickness. So what is Jose thinking about in Catskills? He has been exiled for years, and yet his desire to free Cuba hasn't faded. What message do you take from that? In the mountains there was freedom. The grass grew wild and seemed to whisper that Cuba still needed him. Now Jose's song found a pen, and he wrote freely. He wrote verses about his love for the beauty of the Catskills and his longing for home. I know the secret names of the wild grasses and flowers, and yet I know too well deadly lies in deepest pain. Jose's soul was awakened. The time he had come to rile up others' hearts and fight against Spain again. Jose flew back to Cuba like an eagle healed, to join in a new war for independence. He served as a soldier alongside his people in battle. I've seen the wounded eagle fly to the clear blue sky, and I've seen the snake lie dying from its own poison, alone in its lair. So the author says Jose flew back to Cuba like an eagle healed. What kind of comparison is that? Simile. And what do you think it means? Jose fought bravely, but in the Battle of Two Rivers he died with the sunlight on his face. He didn't live to see his dreams come true. But Jose's friends carried his words in his heart and finished the fight. Jose Marti helped free Cuba, and to all of us he left these simple verses that keep the rhythm of the palms rails and that sing forever of freedom. Alright, and then this is the author's note, which I'm not going to read. So what was the purpose of this book?